Recently, I came home from college and my parents told me about this kid who, named Donnie Darko who died because a plane engine just randomly flew into his room. And I asked, I had a lot of questions actually. First of all, I asked them why was an engine in his room? And the second question was, how did his parents take it, obviously? And we never really talked to the Darkos because they were really weird, especially their son, Donnie. So I didn't really think that my parents really knew what happened to them. But as good parents as they are, they went up to them and asked them. They yelled at my parents. They yelled at them to get the fuck away from us, you filthy Asian people. So you can tell that they weren't taking it very well. Even though they were weird, they weren't racist. I could only nod as my parents told me that the Darkos were still completely crazy. So I went to the town's local coffee shop that not a lot of people went to because, I don't know, they just don't like themselves. So I went to the coffee shop, and as I was standing in line, there was um, a figure in a rabbit costume. And I was a little perplexed because why was there a man, just a random man in a bunny costume or woman? I don't know. I don't judge. He didn't look like your traditional Easter bunny though. He had a wide mouth. Think of a shark and how wide a shark's mouth is, but with square human teeth. And his face, or his eyes, were half of his face, but they were two different sizes. One was just like a round, sort of medium sized eye, and then one was just big like this. And his ears, one was standing up really straight and the other one was a bit curved, but not like curved in the front. It was more curved in towards the side just a little bit. And I was intrigued because no one else seemed to be acknowledging the fact that this guy looked like an absolute weirdo. He just kept looking at me from afar. And so I tapped like the person next to me and I said, "Do you see that guy in the rabbit suit?" And she said, "What guy? What rabbit suit?" And I said, "Okay, that's a little strange that no one else can see him but me." But I just went about my time um, getting my coffee, sitting and reading a copy of this book that I picked up, and then I left. But the weird thing was, I got back to my house, and he was standing at my door, and I said, "What the hell are you doing at my door? And how did you get to my door so fast?" And he said, "Nothing, actually." He didn't say anything. And I didn't know what to do because he was blocking my door. And so I asked him, "Fine, would you like to come in?" And just a little bit annoyed, but also a little terrified what he's going to do to me. And he didn't say anything, but he stepped to the side as if he was going to let me in. And of course, that's when I just decided to let him in. And every question I asked, he just said, he didn't say anything. I asked him, "Who are you?" He didn't say anything. "Where are you from?" He didn't say anything. I asked him, "Why are you wearing that bunny suit?" And he simply just asked me, why are you wearing that human suit? And I just said, touche. I made him some food, or offered him some food, which he didn't take. And he literally just kind of sat there, and he never talked, but when he did, he was always talking about how the end was near and the cosmos will blow up the earth and the earth will end in 30 days, or really more specifically 28 days, 56 hours, 42 minutes, and 36 seconds. And I said, there's no such thing as 56 hours, and also there's no such thing as the end of days, and if it did happen, I'm pretty sure that something catastrophic like the end of the McFlurry would happen. And he didn't say anything much to my chagrin. I should have been scared. I really should have. Because this guy just kind of shows up out of nowhere, and no one else can see it but me. And maybe I just thought, am I hallucinating? Did I take drugs on accident? Did someone put drugs in my system while I was asleep? But I was completely sober. I know that I was completely sober. And so instead of just feeling scared, I just was very fascinated by this guy who, or this bunny figure thing, who just needed a friend. And so that's what I became for him, a friend. I don't know if he would say the same about me, but I definitely took solace in him. I complained about my shitty days, and it would be nice because he wouldn't even say anything, which was very helpful, because most of the people I've talked to, especially my parents, would just be like, well, you should do this and this and this. And I would always be like, well, maybe I just want to vent to you about my problems instead of letting you solve it, because sometimes I just want to rant about things. And he was just nice enough to listen to me. One day, I came home to my parents talking to Donnie Darko's parents for some reason. And it was weird because, like I said, they'd never talked to them. Like, none of us have ever talked to the Darkos ever. We always made fun of them behind their backs. Like, they all belong in the mental wards with straitjackets on them. And looking back on it now, that was a little insensitive. I was 10. I didn't know any better. But my parents were talking to them, and they both kind of just looked a little concerned. And so I walked up to all of them, and Mrs. Darko, beautiful lady with chestnut hair and fair skin. She had just the darkest circles you've ever seen. And the same could be said about Mr. Darko. They just both looked exhausted and dead. I went up to them, they saw me, and they looked immediately scared, like I was a ghost. And I said, what is happening? And my parents just kind of looked just as scared as them. And I said, what is happening? What's going on? And they said, have you been talking to a bunny figure? And I said, yeah, why? And they said, a few days before Donnie died, he started mentioning a rabbit figure. And I said, okay, what does that have to do with anything? And my mom interjected saying, this rabbit was part of the reason that Donnie died. And I just kind of looked at them like they were insane. Because how could someone as harmless as Frank, which was his name, by the way, Frank, how could someone as harmless as him fly a jet engine in Donnie Darko's room? And so I just fought them. I said, you don't know him. He has been through a lot in his life, which, looking back, I personally don't know because he never really talks. But they just looked at me like I was crazy. They said, you are insane, and this rabbit is like a bad omen, and if you don't get rid of him, you might end up with the same thing as Donnie. And I said, no, I'm not getting rid of him. He's my friend, and he's incredibly misunderstood. And so when I left for college, when I left to go after the summer's over, I took Frank with me because I wanted to bring him to a place where no one was going to judge him, kind of like how I went to college and that became a place where no one judged me. So now here I am in my room telling you this story because I want everyone to know that my best friend, Frank the Rabbit, because I don't know his last name, is my best friend, and he deserves a hell of a lot better than what anyone in this world could ever give him. And he is a misunderstood person, and I would happily stand by his side and defend him, kind of like how I am now.